Blasphemous, developed by the Gaming Kitchen Spanish studios and published by the Team 17 Digital, is the latest attempt to recreate the 2D Dark Souls. Is it by these lines that all the action of this title is sewn? Structured as a metroidvania, Blasphemous is a 2D action platformer that can be brutal at times. With a strong history surrounding the religious world, this is certainly the most unsettling indie game of the year. The game's plot is set in a land called Custodia, a religious empire where fate saturates every aspect of society. Now, all of this religion is totally dedicated to a miracle of the greatest pain, as imperceptible divine event that makes all sin and guilt manifested in a visible and tangible way in all others.
Shape my guilt once again.
People inflict different kinds of torments on themselves in order to get rid of this guilt by calling it penance. The player controls a warrior known only as the Penitent One, who carries a cursed sword and an overly high helmet. At the beginning of the game, the Penitent One wakes up surrounded by corpses, all naked, but with a small detail of wearing the same helmet. Leaving this image behind, he sets out to find 3 artifacts that will pave the way for the source of the miracle itself. These are the foundations of the story. As you progress through the land of Custodia, you will find a number of items that include short lore of story notes, much like Dark Souls. However, most of these pieces of history seem to be a bit vague and have no apparent sense of connectivity to others, meaning it doesn't make a story as comprehensive as it does in Dark Souls. Same goes with the items and the upgrades to the armor and sword that the player can collect, tell a story, a very short story, all with the same theme around the religious world and human suffering. Blasphemous gameplay works similar to many other platforms games set in a Metroidvania worlds. At his disposal, the player will have a movement that gives the possibility to dodge an enemy attack, or the movement to make a parry, thus avoiding the attack of the enemy. Both work perfectly and are an essential aspect of survival. In terms of skills, or let's say more advanced ones, and power-ups, the player will have at his disposal some notes that will help him on his demand. It will not be possible to have a handful of power-ups equipped, as there is a slot limit for each weapon piece. Rosary beads as a passive ability can provide protection against toxins, reduce dodge ability time, increase player defense, and much more. The relics are also in form of a passive ability. One example is the Blood Perpetual Insane that allows its bearer to reach places it could not reach before, featuring a blood-based platform. Or the Shroud of Dreamed Sin that lets you hear the last words of fallen corpses. Mea Culpa hearts that can be placed on the Penitent One weapon, where it can make the attack stronger in exchange for something negative. Prayers on the special attack skills that consume the blue bar or mana bar. For instance, the Penitent One has the possibility to throwing his sword as it's wear a boomerang, in exchange for a percentage of his blue mana bar. Another example of attack will be the possibility of the player having an attack buff, losing percentage of life in return. This blue bar or soul bar recover as the player performs normal attacks on his enemies. After the player is dead, his special bar used for this variety of special attacks will be cut until it finds the points where he died and gets rid of the blame. Speaking of enemies, and although this title has a 2D look, there is a wide variety of them in terms of form and attack. From giant blindfolded babies to people strapped to a bell who delivers melee attack where it is convenient to shred them, or even a group of grotesque people appearing from the ground who throw stones at you. There are save points or life restoration points, just like bonfires in Dark Souls. The player will collect tears as he annihilates his enemies. These tears are used to increase the player's ability or trade for objects in the store. The pixelated landscapes that makes up the game's scenarios are also extremely detailed and well made. All of this fueled with powerful atmosphere of the game, which is completed by the minimalist yet super absorbing ambient music. Blasphemous will easily be one of the best this year in the indie world. With immensely satisfying gameplay, memorable art style, and map structures that make sense, is a must for those who like metroidvanias. Are you ready to enter on this grotesque world?